now listening to Thinking Out Loud with your hosts, Jay-Lip and J.Rhodes.
Thinking Out Loud, we back at it. It's your boy Jay-Lip with my co-host J.Rhodes and our featured guest, the Honorable Mr. Levi. Now this is part 3 in a 3-part series where we've had Levi on the panel, giving his opinion and joining in the discussion. So without further ado, Rhodes, I'm going to toss it back over to you.
Going back to the real point, we talking about the impact of the black dollar. Perfect example. Like, we just need to start really investing in black businesses that are built for black people. I kind of wish FUBU would come back, like, just so I could start rocking it again, because, you know, that's a black-owned business as opposed to giving my money to somebody else who doesn't care or doesn't represent my community. And the dilemma, like I said, I touched on this last week about segregation, how the original black people were so excited to spend their money in white establishments because they couldn't. But think about this. All three of us went to Michigan State University, a Division I, Big Ten school, got a great education. Mm-hmm. You know, honestly, when I was growing up, I didn't want to go to a historically black college. You know, I thought like, you know, that doesn't represent the world. I want a worldly education. I want to go to a school that is broader in its approach. But look at it. I mean, these historical black colleges, they're running out of funding. There's less and less alumnus who are giving back. And honestly, we need to go back to empowering our schools, our businesses, our community. So I think that's something that we should consider for our children.
Good point. But the problem with HBCUs is the people in charge. The students are black, but the administrators are non-black.
So get them.
So going back to, for example, most of the stores, things like that in black communities are not black owned. Are we really helping ourselves by sending our kids to an institution that's put in place by people that are not black?
Great question. Question.
But the school wasn't put in place by people who are non-black. But if there's a new dean who is of Arab or Caucasian descent, is that a reason not to send your kids to that school? The school still stands on the roots of historical black leaders and black, history. I mean,
see, I disagree with that, because you just said if it stands on the roots of black culture. You could say that about hip hop music. You could say that about black art, black media. You could say anything like, we started off as black, but no matter who owns it or who runs it, we still started off black. I don't vibe with that. I disagree with you, Rhodes.
That's a little different. It's like
no, but I'm saying the whole thing is you use the justification to say that even though HBCU was started black, they're owned white, but shouldn't you still be happy that they started black?
No, I didn't say owned white. I said there was a white person in the. Granted, they get federal funding due to them being a historical black college. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like white person owns the school. You know, so if a white person.
But you mentioned legislation. Who manages the school? Who's the dean? Who's the counselor?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they have some people of diverse on the council or the board, that's no reason to not. I can't go to that school because they got a white person on the board.
And I agree.
But then how can you say that and then go to a school that's traditionally white and not be upset that they don't have any black people on the board?
I didn't say I wasn't upset. That's two different issues. I'm talking about historically black college that has stood there to educate black people, which was our only resource back at the time. Now we have the opportunity to go anywhere we want. And if that school is still standing, still educating people with a fine first-class education, and there's a white person or a non-black person on the board, that's no reason not to send your kid there.
I agree with that, but the problem is, I'm not talking about one white person. I'm not exclusionary. I will hire the best person for the job, whether they be black or non-black. But when the majority of the people that's in charge are not black, then that kind of changes the dynamic there. For example, you put an Asian, for example, in charge, and then he hires another Asian to be the assistant dean. They hired another agent to be 5 more Asians to be the administrator. Now if we went over to Asia and one of us happened to be fortunate enough to become an administrator at school, you best be damned if a bunch of us gonna infiltrate their system.
Exactly.
So that changes the whole dynamic. And then going back to your point about first class education, they're not recruiting the best talent. For example, I was listening to a couple of different podcasts, and I listened to one about Dr. Boyce Watkins. I don't know if you're aware of him.
Oh yeah, Dr. Boyce Watkins goes in.
And he mentioned about a few times where he actually applied to a couple of HBCUs. And why doesn't he work for them? he mentioned that, you know, he was the only Black person to get a PhD in economics in the year 2002 across the nation. Definitely well qualified for most positions as like any sort of to be an economics professor. He's been one for over 20 years. He applied to be one at the HBCU. He mentioned about this problem. One, the pay was going to be about a fourth of what he was making. Mm-hmm. Even he was still willing to take the pay cut because of the purpose, because who he would be serving. But then on top of that, he thought he could make the money back in terms of his outside endeavors, those sorts of things. They wanted him to stop all outside endeavors. So they wanted him to cut his pay by 75%, and he can't make up the money by outside endeavors. And you're giving him, because part of the reason is you're giving him more of a workload to do. Mm-hmm. And most HBCUs are based on a conservative philosophy. So they don't want you to stand out. One of the things about us as a people and as a culture is we tend to not do things the traditional way, even with our music, with our clothing, with our fashion, everything. We tend to be a little bit, I wouldn't call Black people conservative. But yet you got these HBCUs who have a conservative philosophy because they're not. Now, how does that come about? Black people are not in charge, which is how.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I still think that's a little unfair because
no. Let's address what he said exactly. If you feel like it's unfair, why do you feel like it's unfair?
Okay, so going back to this example of Dr. Boyce Watkins, right?
Here we go. Okay, look, we all believe in Dr. Boyce Watkins. We understand that he is a very learned man. He's an educated man. He represents people who don't have a voice. I listen to Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm subscribed. Shout out to Dr. Boyce Watkins if you listen. I know you're listening, but listening to what he says about his opportunities and the opportunities of the vast majority of Black people, they're totally different. They're totally different. And even him himself said being the top of his class, being the top of, I think it was the graduating class of his high school, and then trying to get into a major university, a major HBCU university, he still has struggled with that. Help me understand why he's different than any of us.
So Dr. Boyce Watkins has a platform. He like I said, he gives people a voice, that you said, Lip. If a HBCU has a limited budget where they can't necessarily match the funds that he would normally get from a larger school or institution. So if they can't afford to pay him the same salary he would make at like a Purdue or wherever university, then like I said, that's his choice if he wants to take that pay cut, as Levi mentioned. Now, going back to the conservative role of it, I think that HBCU, although maybe flawed in their logic, maybe thinking like, you know what, we want instructors who want to be here for the children and because they believe in the values and the foundation of this institution. Not saying that Dr. Boyce Watkins doesn't, but at the same time, he's become somewhat of a, I don't call him a celebrity, but he's become a well-known leader and vocalist for the urban community.
So you do understand by saying that if he's a vocalist for the community, that by definition blocks him from getting the opportunity to be what he wants to be for the HBCU. That's a problem.
Because his platform can potentially overshadow the values of the school, the image of the school. I'm not saying it's right, but I can see that line of thinking, because then it's like people are like, oh, I want to sign up for Dr. Boyce Watkins class because he be on YouTube talking all this stuff about saving money, as opposed to really wanting to go to the class to learn the material. Even though, granted, they're in the same, but I can see the point where he's bigger than the class. He's bigger than the curriculum.
I guess my issue is, why should we penalize the man who learned the game and he's saying, I want to give my culture the game in an institution where they're paying money for it? I'm doing it for free every day. That's what he's saying.
Right, but there's also...
Okay, so we're penalizing him and not hiring him. Or we're actually not the people that's not hiring him, because it's not Blacks are not in charge again at HBCUs. But he's not being
allegedly.
Say that again.
You got so many facts on that.
Say that again. Say that again, Levi.
Look up the faculty and the administrators there. Most of them are non-Black. So we're not actually being the ones that penalizing him in a culture, because we're not the ones in charge, which is a problem in and of itself. To go back to that, though, the whole time he's been teaching at Syracuse University for 20 years until very, very recently. When So practice kind of took off. So they didn't have, at a predominantly white institution, they didn't have a problem with him teaching and doing this thing on the side. But we got a problem with him teaching and doing this side. And we're going to pay him and a black institution is going to pay him 75% less.
Damn.
And tell him not to make money on the side. What type of shit is that?
Damn, Rhodes.
What job you gonna go to and take a 75% haircut and on top of that not be able to make money on the side? Like, come on.
There's pros and cons though. This is what I'm about to say. So going back, his notoriety, his popularity helps the school prestige, even if he takes a pay cut. But at the same time, he's so big. If he gets enthralled in a scandal,
hold on one second. Hold on 1 second, Rhodes. Hold on 1 second. Levi brought up a good point. 75% pay cut. You take a 75% pay cut because you love who you're teaching to. That's the only reason why you would ever take 75% of a pay cut, because you love what you do. If you were in a job you are in a job, but the job that you do right now, if someone said, I will offer you 25% of what you're making right now, but you can provide to your community, would you take it?
I mean, I would have to consider it. I'd probably say no.
Okay, that's my point. But Boyce Watkins did, though. That's my point. He did.
Because he could make money outside of it.
Exactly.
Now they're taking away his ability to feed his family outside of it.
Exactly.
What type of shit is that?
Exactly.
Hear me out, y'all. Hear me out.
Go ahead.
Okay, listen to this line of thinking, right? The school doesn't have the funds to match your salary, so it's 25% right there. You say, cool, I'm still down with it because I love to do it. Okay, great. But then we say, look at Dr. Boyce Watkins. He's an internet presence. He goes around. He's a speaker. All those things are great because he adds prestige and credibility to the program. However, him as an individual may overshadow the program. And here's the second part. If Dr. Boyce Watkins can make so much money doing whatever he does on the side, he may become a little disgruntled with his pay eventually. Because one thing we all know, we'll take a pay cut for a little while, but once it don't add up, we'll be like, kind of tired of that.
See, now you're presuming, though. You're saying...
Okay, and here's the second part. What I mentioned. If he gets enthralled in a scandal like Dr. Umar Johnson, then he hurts the program because now it's all about what Dr. Boyce Watkins.
Hold on. Just to be clear, speak on what the scandal was so people know what we're talking about.
There's a couple of scandals. There's a couple of scandals I can mention. But
okay, just name the high level, like what with the boys' school and what. Keep going.
Right. I mean, he had a couple of scandals where he initially had a relationship with like a stripper or some kind of a dancer. There was another scandal where people were saying that he wasn't appropriating the funds he was collecting to correct the school, and I think there was something else he got into it with as well. And basically, his whole reputation has been tarnished by.
You sound like Trump right now. You just gave him a third strike without having evidence against it. You literally just said, "I'm sure there was a third one." But anyway, go ahead.
What I'm saying is, but I can see the school being a little cautious to bring somebody with that large a name, that large of a marquee into their program. Not saying it was the right move, but I can understand it.
But this was before the scandals.
That's my point.
This was before his platform got as large as it is now.
Exactly. That's my point.
You didn't get that context. I had no idea. Well, people realize personality.
But you can't speak on something and say that he did all these things and he didn't have context and blah, blah, blah. Like, you're giving evidence to support your argument, but you really don't have any factual basis to tell us this is why what you believe is right and what we're saying is wrong. Dr. Boyce Watkins has done a lot of right things in his life, and he has sacrificed a lot of opportunities where he could have made more money for him and his family, but he chose not to.
But at the same time, we only get one side of the story. Like, for one, I want to know the name of the school that has this whiteboard that Levi's alluding to. First of all, I need to know that so I can look that up, be fact. Second of all, Dr. Boyce Watkins, I mean, as much as I love him, I mean, honestly, the way he talks, his tone may have rubbed somebody the wrong way. Not saying that he wasn't qualified or the best person for the job, but we all know that impressions play a big part of any job interview. So there could be more things behind the scenes that we don't know.
Well, one of the schools he named, he didn't name the other two, was Prairie View. So that was one of them, and he mentioned the whole interview process with them.
Yeah, I remember that.
Then he mentioned there were two other schools or two other times, separate points in life where he tried for various reasons, and for whatever reason it didn't work out. So,
given that information, to me, Boyce Watkins should be the example of who we want to mimic or imitate. To me, Boyce Watkins is a person who's saying, "You can give me all the money in the world, but if you're telling me to turn my back on my people, I won't do it."
No, I agree with you. Like I said, I don't fault Boyce Watkins at all. I mean, from what I know of his character, I enjoy it. The only thing I wish he would get a better webcam and step up his video production.
Okay, so anyway, moving on from that, Judging him by his technology, I want to make sure we bring this whole thing full circle. So we talked about the elephant in the room when we got into a more deeper discussion about the reasons behind the colorism, light skin, dark skin, why the black community is not unifying economically, politically, things of that nature. Now, there's one other elephant that we need to address, and that is the element of the hip hop culture and how it's ingrained in the black community, specifically what's going on right now with hip hop. If you haven't heard, or if you've been under a rock, or if you've been dead, Nicki Minaj and Remy Ma are at each other's necks. Well, I can't even say that. Let me take that back. Remy Ma is at Nicki Minaj's neck, and with Nicki Minaj being the quote unquote queen of hip hop for the past half a decade, 7 years, however long Remy been in prison, Nicki has held the crown as being the queen. She's been doing a thing as far as collaborations. She's been dropping hot verses. And she's even kind of bridged the gap into the pop realm. Not even kind of, but she's fully immersed herself as far as doing features on both hip-hop tracks and pop tracks. Now, she is a strong female hip-hop artist, in my opinion. And you can't take away from her accolades, her sales, her tour numbers. Her prosperity is great.
Right.
But
yep.
what's happening...
She took over from Missy.
All right, I disagree. But moving from that, she basically has been the queen of hip-hop for as long as I can remember, in the 2010s to 2017s. Now, Remy Ma gets released from prison a few years ago, and Fat Joe made it his initiative to put her basically on the map with whatever hot tracks he gets, he puts her on. And now I know it was rumored at first, but now it's official with the Sheether, Remy Ma on the Ether beat, respect to Nas versus Hove. Let's be honest, Remy bodied Nicki on that beat. We know it's been enough time for Nicki to respond. Is there an expectation that we hear at Nicki Minaj's response to the attack that was unleashed on her from Remy Ma?
I don't think so. I think it would have happened by now. I think Nicki's trying to take the high road, like, oh, I'm beyond this pettiness and I'm the queen, Barbie, whatever. But it would have been nice, though. I really wish she would have responded. She definitely went for the throat, the jugular, the cooch, whatever. She definitely got in her face with the sheet. I'm telling you, like, granted, her flow can be a little offbeat at times, but she went hard. Like, lyrics is on point. The accusations, whether false or not, true or not, they made you question it, though. You question, did she sleep with Trey Songz? Did she sleep with, if you got to question it, I think that's a good diss.
However, the thing is, Nicki did come out with something beforehand, but it was kind of whack, and now she hasn't responded. She could be waiting to respond within the context of an album. It might not be an immediate response, but with this being in the times where you normally would respond instantaneously, it's looking like a L.
Well, you know what? That's a good point. So there's two things there. One, is there an expectation for immediate response? And if you don't immediately respond in the, let's say, in the culture that we live in right now with Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, social media in general, Nicki heard about the diss. She probably heard it herself 1,000 times, got 1,000 text messages about it, like, hey, like, be aware that this is happening, respond to this. If she doesn't respond to this, again, this verbal assault that occurred on her head, if she doesn't respond to it, does that A, take away from her credibility as being the queen of hip-hop? And then B, if she doesn't respond, does that impact her success level as an artist in general, because she's not just regulated against what the hip-hop standards are, but she's also a pop artist now?
Well, she definitely went at her. The rap game is real funny because you got street cred and then you got like mainstream success.
Exactly.
So she can never be questioned or challenged on mainstream success. I mean, I think she's got like 80 million followers on Instagram. Like, ridiculous, right? But at the same time, the street cred, the butt shots, the wigs, who you sleeping with, who writing your verses, all that stuff come into play when it come down to your legacy. But at the end of the day, she's going to be a mainstream popular artist. She hooked up with Beyonce, so she's almost untouchable. So she doesn't have to respond. but at the same time, it does make for good conversation, and it does diminish her legacy a little bit, in my opinion.
I disagree that she's untouchable just because she's affiliated with Beyonce. She did what, 1 or 2 songs with her? Like that don't. I guess that
Well,
actually
she did like 2 or 3 bangers with Beyonce, like popular songs. So it ain't the street credit, it's just her overall
popular
image.
is the key word though. Pop. What is your traditional hip hop audience? Traditionally, a hip hop audience, by and large, is black people, right?
Because the
I
majority of
mean, yes or
demographics
no?
are actually white people.
No, I'm
No,
saying. Wait, you saying
No.
no?
no,
Explain.
man.
No.
The,
You think
the
by and
whiteys like
large,
the music,
not the people who pay for the music, the people who receive and people
the
who,
culture.
yeah, from a cultural perspective, hip hop fans are by and large black. That's a fact. So I'm apologizing for even asking y'all the question because y'all both are wrong. Hip hop culture is black, but pop culture traditionally is white. So her pop culture or her pop range is not affected by beef or disses or any type of shots that anyone who's not also of the pop culture would take at her. She's not affected by that. I believe personally that there's a whole entire pop culture audience that could be completely numb and oblivious that there's even a beef happening right now. Am I wrong in that?
No, you're right about
You're
that.
right.
If that whole audience is oblivious, then it leaves those of us who are just true hip hop fans who want to hear the bars, who want to hear the back and forth, and to see who's really the greatest based off of the musical prowess. It's us that end up losing when Nicki decides not to respond. That's my issue. Don't act like you are above the fray of needing to defend yourself when someone attacks you on wax because you were attacked on wax. And hip hop, historically, this is beef. All of this is based upon the competitive nature of hip hop music. This is what hip hop is. To turn away from it and to say that I'm holier than thou or I'm above this or I'm unbothered as the quote was, that bothers me because that separates you now from us. Do you feel like she's detached from the hip hop community?
But she been detached since she
Mm-hmm.
started making them pop songs, that sort of thing. She used hip hop as a way to get on. Then once she got on, you get a taste of a different lifestyle, that sort of thing. Now she's a pop artist. She's no longer a hip hop artist. I don't think this is just further proof of that. Although I will say part of hip hop is sad, the fact that we can't have 2 black women working together as opposed now they always got to go after each other.
No. That's not
things
true
like
though.
that.
That's not true though because remember Ladies Night? The collaboration with Angie Martinez, Lil,
No.
no, I'm serious now. Nah, come on, y'all. Nah,
Y'all forgot about that.
Ladies
song, yo.
Night was was the pinnacle collaboration of female artists. It was shoot, it was Angie Martinez, it was Lil Kim, it was Maya, Missy. Like they came together and they did. Or was it Ladies Night or Lady Mama? I can't remember. I'm blending 2 songs together. Either way, there
Yeah,
was a
you
time.
blend 2 songs together.
Either way,
See, we're not even sure.
See, because it's been so long,
That just go-
and I
Yeah,
agree with you.
That's another problem.
It's been too long.
But competition is good for the sport. Like I get you, Levi, and the whole women can't work together, black people can't work together. Like competition is good for the sport. Like rap is built on battle, so I think it's good for the core audience, for the culture, to call people out on their bullshit. But at the same time, Nicki's not playing ball. She's like, I think she's intimidated. Like she can't compete.
I agree. I agree
Bar for
100%.
bar.
I
Like, real
believe
stuff.
that Nicki is scared. I believe that Remy Ma has been in prison for the last almost a decade, and there's really no dirt that you can get on somebody when they've been in prison, but you out here having a relationship with person A, person B slides in, starts snitching on person A, gets it in with you, now you with person B, then person B got beef with your boy person C, and let's just be quite honest, Safari's person A, Meek Mill's person B, and Drake is person C. So if you out here living nefariously where you with your new boo, your new dude, because he told you that your first dude was cheating, and then you got third dude Drake, who was originally the dude who basically had the biggest crush on you, who's your label mate. You're not taking pictures with him, you're not messing with him publicly, while you with Meek, and then as soon as you break up with Meek, now you want to take pictures all up in the videos, all up in the pictures, like y'all back family again because we got Meek out the picture. To me, that speaks volumes to her character, and that character is garbage. That means that she's gonna ride with whoever is riding for her at the time.
But that's also the mentality of that circle she's trying to get in, like that Beyonce, Jay-Z circle. I mean, that's the same mentality too. So, and by and large, they're winning to most people perception-wise.
Is she not still supposed to take pictures with Drake? I mean, I know it does look weird that your label mate was having a beef with your mans, but now that he your ex, you still got to get this money, and you got a career that you're going after. And that sort of thing. So,
but it do look like she might be sleeping with him though, or she, it could happen now.
Yeah, they probably fuck. So,
no, but okay. So with all that, okay, I'm with you. I get it. In my mind, she's not cut from the same cloth as I feel like our true, thorough female artists have been in hip hop. MC Lyte, Queen Latifah, Lauryn Hill, Foxy Brown, Lil' Kim, the original, like. Nicki's not cut from that same cloth. Trina, I mean...
He said the original. You want the brown Lil' Kim? What you talking about?
I mean, we all know that Lil' Kim, who existed in the 90s, died. And we are now living with the reincarnation of Lil' Kim, who basically, on a hip-hop music and relevancy level, ceases to exist. She's done. That whole situation she had with Nicki, she lost when she started, because when people hear her, it's one thing to reminisce and say, yeah, Lil' Kim was the original. She was the original provocative female rapper, but she destroyed herself through plastic surgery that you can't look at her the same and be like, okay, I'll ride with that. Like, you can't. And that's the truth. With all that being said, I still feel like Nicki owes it to the hip-hop fans of her music to... If you claim that you're the queen of hip-hop, queen of rap, let's say rap. Even Remy called it out and said, to be the queen of rap, you got to actually rap. Is Nicki the queen of rap?
That's a tough one. I mean, honestly, I would say maybe, yeah, but because she doesn't have any competition, she might be queen by default. Like, if Remy comes back and consistently puts out music, but without a competitor, every challenger will be challenger has fallen. Like, from Tink to Krayshawn, Lil' Kim 9 Factor, Foxy Brown 9 Factor. I can't even think of female rappers. This is terrible. Come on, like who else is there?
I agree with that. Unless Remy Ma makes this resurrection, and meaning she got to come out with more bangers. I know she had, all the way turned up, but that's one. So we need more.
That Money Showers go hard. That little joint album she got with Fat Joe. That Money Showers go hard.
It does.
That's true.
And she was on that wait a minute. Wait a minute. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right?
Nope. But moving forward though, I do want to say that we got to be careful when we want to reference songs on the podcast. We got to know the name. We got to know the artist, because that was, I don't know what the anyway.
You don't know that song go hard. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I got you. Well, anyway, thinking out loud, we here. This is what we do. I want to give a big shout out to my co-host J.Rhodes, even though he ain't know what the hell he was talking about just now. We appreciate him for co-hosting, and we appreciate the Honorable Mr. Levi for being a part of this 3-part series. We love you, bro. We thank you. Please continue to listen, to support, to give feedback, what you like, what you don't like, comment. You like it on YouTube, Facebook, subscribe anywhere that you can. We all about doing numbers as a grassroots project. This is Thinking Out Loud, and we'll see you next Friday at noon. We out.
This episode of Thinking Out Loud was executive produced by Jay-Lip. Music provided by Daisy Smith. Artwork and logo provided by Rob D. And sponsored by you, the people. We thank you for listening.